Right. Hello, everyone. Okay. Guess I'll get started then. To start, I've got a quick video to kind of set the scene. I'm James May, and I am a model designer for LEGO.
Put your hands up in the air.
Here's your chip, sir.
A fine addition to my collection. Hey, yo, what's up, bro?
Life, it never die. Women are my favorite guys.
Careful, SpongeBob! SpongeBob, careful! Careful, SpongeBob!
Boom, hear the bass go zoom.
And then everything's coming out your face.
Cyber system overload. Everybody move, man.
So, hello, everyone. I'm James May, but not the one from Top Gear, and I'm a model designer for a toy company called the LEGO Group that you might have heard of. I'm James May, and yeah, so my job is to design LEGO models such as this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, and my favorite, this one. But who am I? So, as I said before, I'm James, and I'm from Aberdeen, and I currently live in Denmark with my partner and our cat, Gucci. In my spare time, I like to watch old movies and play old video games from before any of you guys were born. And I live near an international airport, so I like to travel a lot. And of course, I love playing with Lego bricks. So, at this part, I meant to tell you what my company does, but I think we can maybe skip that part. But in case you didn't know, we make toys with tiny bricks with wee studs on them. The LEGO Group is a family-run toy company based in Denmark, and it's been making toys since 1932 and bricks since 1953, and has been the enemy of bare feet ever since. And now, after 91 years, it is one of, or maybe even the biggest toy companies in the world. But what is a designer? To me, there's a spectrum from artists who are super creative and open-minded to ideas, but a bit less practical, and then to engineers who are super practical and technical, but maybe not the most creative. So a designer is someone who is in between, where they can use the creativity to come up with cool ideas, but the technical knowledge to make them a reality. So my journey to become a designer, specifically a toy designer, but more specifically, a Lego designer. So it all started when I was a kid, where, like a lot of you, I was a big fan of building things with Lego bricks. So I wanted to work for them when I was an adult. But as I got older, this was thought of wanting to be an astronaut or a Twitch streamer, where it's a really cool job, but not exactly realistic. Because I played with Lego as a kid, though, I was naturally drawn to subjects like art, where I got to be creative, but also science and maths, where everything's very logic-based, like stacking bricks. With these subjects, with the subjects that I did well in, I went on to university where I studied engineering. There's a lot of maths, but not a lot of art. And during that time, while looking for internships as a student, I saw that Lego was hiring and applied basically as a joke. But, well, I mean, joke's on me, because I got a job and was shipped out to Denmark for 1 year to design Duplo models. And that experience was so amazing and better than I could have possibly ever imagined. But it showed that, unlike an astronaut, I could actually maybe make it as a Lego designer. So once I finished my first degree, I did another one. And this time it was in product design. Doing that let me use more of my art and creativity, which was a bit lacking since I was a kid. And also learn how to design toys that kids would have fun playing with. And then after all of this, I applied to be a model designer, and I didn't get the job. The Lego Group, they're super, it's super difficult to get into, and their motto is only the best is good enough. And it turns out that they're not messing around with that. So I applied for a second time, and I got in. Hooray! So I got the job, but what do I actually do? Surely I don't just sit around playing with Lego bricks all day. I mean, well, okay, it's a bit more complicated than that. But one of the coolest things about my job is that Um, yeah, like playing with Lego bricks, like getting hands on bricks is like the best way to actually get designing and getting stuck in. And in our office, we have unlimited bricks and they're available in every shape and every color. But how is a Lego model actually made? So we start with the boring bit, but it's very important. We do research. It's always fun to build whatever you want, but remember that you're building for other people, so not just yourself. So you need to look into what kids think are cool right now. Is there any new technology that you want to put in your model? And generally, what would be like a fun thing to build? Okay, now is the fun bit. The next stage is the ideas phase. This is when the sky's the limit and you get to make all the cool models you can think of, but like, using the research, of course. Um, we keep building and building until we have a bunch of different models, and then it's up to the boss to pick which ones should be made into real Lego sets that are sold in shops. At this stage, you're using more of your art skills to be super creative and working with others to come up with the best possible ideas. Once a lineup of models is picked, each of the designers is given a model to work on. And this is where the design and engineering skills are needed. Each Lego model is given a budget for how big they can be. So for instance, if a model is £20 in the shop, we can't put £30 worth of bricks in it because then it won't make any money. But then we can't make it too small, like the size of a £10 model, because then no one will buy it. So you need to design it in a way that gets everything that you want at the right size. Also, if there's any crazy functions in the model, like with gears or levers or buttons, you have to work those out and make sure that kids can build them. So using a lot of engineering knowledge for this part. Here's an example of me trying a bunch of different ways of getting a function in the camera that I designed. And I started by like building them out just in like a little module, and then afterwards fitting it inside the camera. So that's the same kind of mechanism, but like crammed into the casing of the camera. We also have to make the model stable. When you build a big tower out of Lego bricks and it's all wobbly and falls over, we have to make sure that if you follow the instructions, it doesn't do that. I'm really sorry, my cat is right here and is wanting out the room, so just open that door. Sorry about that. Yeah. So if there's something that we can't make with existing Lego bricks, and we tried everything, we'll design a new brick. This could be like a new Stormtrooper helmet if there's a new Star Wars film out, or like a functional brick to solve like a tricky problem. But when designing bricks, you need to be thinking about things like how strong it is and what type of plastic you're making it out of, and can it actually be made? Um, and then at the end, just like school, we have a final test on the model. We meet with people who write the building instructions and someone who we call a model coach. Um, and they're like a master of the Lego building system. And we sit there and build the model from start to finish, step by step, to see if it meets the high standards of the Lego group. We also do some like fun tests. So we do a heat test where we put the model in the oven overnight, which makes the bricks like really soft. And then we can check where the model's weak. And if it stays together after being baked, then it's strong enough to be a real Lego model. Another cool one is the robot test, which I've got a video here to show. Yeah, so the robot here is set up to press this red button thousands of times, as if it was being played with for years and years to make sure that it still works after all that time. So it's like it pushes the button, and then this photo pops out, and then it pushes the photo back in, and just goes back and forth, just like stress testing it. Yeah, so once the model passed all the tests, we say goodbye to it, and it's sent on to people like the instructions writers, the people who make the box art, the people who produce the thousands of Lego bricks to put in the box, and any new Lego bricks that are designed, they'll be made here for the first time. And then it gets shipped out to shops all around the world. So how can you become a Lego designer? I would say that if you want to grow up to be a Lego designer or a designer in general, then the most important skill is being able to work as a team. It sounds a bit lame, but I'd rather work with someone who is not as good at building with Lego, who is really friendly and good to bounce ideas off of, rather than someone who's really good at building with Lego, but a bit stubborn and like rude. Uh, at school, subjects like maths and physics were good for getting like the technical and logical mindset to get the skills in engineering, but don't ignore being creative as well. It's all about like having a balance. Um, a design or engineer education is important, but not essential for this role. Like I know a guy who started as a fisherman and then came to this role. So like it takes everyone. It's just like as long as you have like the mindset. Um, but yeah, so it's my understanding that you guys have like a challenge to take on, and a good place for designers to start is to think about times that you've been building like a Lego model or playing with toys, and you've got annoyed and frustrated in some way. So designers, we call that a pain point. And as designers, we want kids to have as much fun as possible. Uh, so getting rid of these moments and making playing with Lego even more fun. So I guess my challenge is how can you get rid of these pain points?
But I do have the first question. What do you love most about your job?
Um, I guess I mean the obvious one would be like playing with Lego all day. That's pretty fun. But I would say that like the people that I work with, like having all these kind of creative minds all in the one building together. It's like all these people that are just like so like-minded and being able to like work with them and bounce ideas off of them. It's like it's really it makes it like all the more fun to go into work every day.
Yeah, so you said that working in that team is so important because you've got some people around you, and you said something about bouncing ideas off. And we've got a question here from St Mary's School, which is how
Hmm.
do you get your ideas? And also, what is your favourite thing to design?
Ooh, well, favorite thing to design is robots. I'm a big like robot fan or big robot fan. I like big robots. But how do I get my ideas? It's well, yeah. So I said in the presentation, like there's a lot of research, but then it's also, I guess, just like if you've got like a big pile of bricks in front of you, just like putting shapes together. Like I guess a lot of it comes down to like maybe like combination of prior knowledge and like trial and error, where it's like you're building and it's like, now that doesn't work, and like try something else, and you just go through all like every different idea that you can like think of until you have something cool, and you're like, oh, like yeah, let's make this.
Oh, brilliant. And so we've, as I say, there's loads of questions coming in, so we're just going to go thick and fast with them, James, if that's okay. This
That's all
question
right.
comes from Dykehead Primary, and I've seen a few people ask it.
Mhm.
How are the Lego bricks made? We saw a little bit in the video, but
Yes. So they are made by injection molding, where it's basically there's like the inverse of the Lego brick in like two bits of metal, and then so those two bits of metal come together, and then they push like liquid plastic in, and then when it cools, it opens, and then the brick falls out. So they do that thousands and thousands and thousands of times, and then you just have a big box of Lego bricks, and then it all kind of gets like sorted by machines into like the individual little packets, like counting them properly to like make up the Lego set.
and then by the looks of things, some of them get put aside into your massive factory and play center where you get to pick every brick that's possibly
Yes, yeah,
available so
yeah,
you
yeah,
can
yeah.
design stuff.
Yeah.
So we've got another question. This question comes from Westfield Primary. What's been your most challenging project to date?
Ooh, I would probably say the typewriter is a project that I
Oh
worked on
wow.
where it has yeah, so it's like typewriter and it has like the keys that kind of like they push down and it hits an arm up, and it has well, it's hard to like do it with my like to mime it, but there's it's just like a lot of different functions in there, and that's when like it was really important to have that kind of engineering knowledge of yeah, like gears and levers and springs and all this kind of like very technical stuff to like make sure that everything works, not just with the one that you're working on, but then someone else has to be able to build it and theirs has to work as well. So yeah, definitely that. I was working with someone else on that one, thank goodness.
Mhm.
So like yeah, it was like the two of us together managed to like work through it.
And it sounds like, and your presentation showed this as well, there's quite a lot of testing and
Yeah.
practicing and prototyping to ensure you make it. And this question comes from Gairloch Primary. How long does it take for a prototype to become a functional model and then end up on the shelves out there for people like me to go and buy?
Ooh, I mean, it changes depending on the size of the model, but I would say from like start to finish would maybe be like a year in advance. We would start looking at how, yeah, from start to finish. But like design, you wouldn't be designing for a year. It would only be like the first couple of months, and then it goes on to like the next step, and then the next step afterwards.
Yeah, so it's and again, it sounds like there's lots of people involved in that as well. So everyone
Yes,
gets a
yeah.
little idea and ideas bounce around.
Yeah.
We've got this question which I really like. This is from Oak class. Can you make absolutely anything out of Lego?
I would say that like yes, but also I don't know. I would say that like you could make anything technically, but then it's for instance with the typewriter, it's like we could have made it like a real typewriter, but we couldn't have made it the size of a real typewriter because like the bricks are only so small and made of plastic. So it's we can make it look like anything, but maybe not function like anything.
I like that. So we've also had quite a few questions in about yourself, James, and one of them is, and a few people have asked this, how long have you been playing with Lego for, and when did you discover that you loved it?
So I had Duplo, which is like the like baby version of Lego since I was a baby, like 1 years old. I had a Duplo fire station. Um, but I would say it was when I was around like 7 that I was like, okay, this is something I want to do forever. Like this is something that I want to grow up and I remember like making like a pact with one of my friends, like we're going to be designers one day
Oh, I love
together.
it.
I mean, he didn't. He went on to do like musical theater, so like he chased a different dream, but I stuck with this
You
one.
stuck with it.
um, but yeah, that was when you're kind of like you know enough that like this is a thing that someone has made rather than just like a toy that your parents have given you. It's like, oh, this is like someone must have made this, and I could be that person. And like when that kind of clicked, that was when it kind of set me on the path.
So was it just playing with the Lego, or was there a person that made you sort of think, oh no, you can do this, you can go out? Was it maybe a teacher or someone you saw on TV or anything like that?
Um, I would say so. There was the kind of yeah, like I said, the like pie in the sky dream of like, oh, maybe one day I could be a Lego designer, and then it kind of like, oh yeah, yeah, but you're not going to do that. I would say it was so Lego do these designer videos
Mhm.
um, where it's like with the bigger models they'll show off like here's this big model, and there was a designer who was Scottish who was showing off his model, and then that kind of made it click for me. It's like, oh, like he's like me, like oh that maybe it's not so far fetched if like some guy from like I think he's from Edinburgh. It's like if a guy from Edinburgh can go there, like maybe a guy from Aberdeen can. And I think that was like what made me start looking into things like the internship. That's like really got me going.
Yeah, and so you're right. It's just knowing that it can happen.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah,
it's funny you say that actually, because obviously I've been excited for this being Scottish myself. I went, oh, I get to speak to a Lego designer who's also
yeah,
from Scotland. This is exciting.
yeah.
So we've got some more questions coming in as well about your interests as well. One of the questions is, what's your favorite Lego to build at home when you're not working?
Oh, when I'm not working, I would say something like a big house um, would be something that like because if you have like a plane or a car or something, it's you're kind of building the same thing mirrored. Whereas if you've got a
Mhm.
house, it's all different all the way up. I'm trying to think like, do I have anything around me that I can show? But, like, it's all on the other side there, so you can't see it. Um, but yeah, like things that have like a lot of variety to them. Um, yeah,
Yeah, you've got a bit of freedom and flexibility. As you say, yeah, if you're building a plane, the plane's got to fit together. A house can look like any house. I like that.
yeah, yeah.
And just looking through some of the other questions we've got. Well, we've got some questions maybe about the history of Lego. So the Royal School of Dunkeld asks, when was
Mhm.
Lego first invented? It's definitely
Oh,
been around as long as I can remember.
I think I had the dates in the presentation, but I don't remember off the top of my head. It was like so the company's been around since the 30s, where they were making wooden
Oh.
toys, and then it was around the 50s when they got some like injection molding machines. It was like, hey, we can make some like plastic bricks with this, and then it was them that kind of came up with the how they have like the tube underneath the Lego brick, and that was a kind of big innovation that made it so that you could click them together anywhere rather than just like directly on top of each other. And that was what really set it apart from the competition and
Yeah.
grew the empire from there.
Wow, yeah. So that little bit of innovation at the
Yeah.
start, and look where they are now.
Yeah.
So we've got some more questions based on your presentation, actually. This question is about the baking test that you told us
Yes.
about. So what happens if the Lego bricks fail the baking test?
Oh, you have to go back and redesign it. So yeah, it'll be something like if you've got like a car, for instance. Wait, oh, I do have a car on me. Oh. So say you have like a car and you kind of like do the test and then you kind of like push it, you push like the figure in, and then like maybe they would like come through the floor or something. So you would then need to strengthen around this area to make sure that by pushing down it doesn't come out, or if it's like a bit kind of like off the end there, and by baking it, by like just tapping it like that, it would like maybe fall off. So you'd have to make sure that it's like secure enough, like maybe add more studs or like other connection points to make sure it's like really solid.
Brilliant. So it basically shows you the bits that need a bit more attention and a bit more
Yes,
care
yeah,
to
yeah.
work. And in terms of the design process, so this is a question from the year 6 at Charlotte. Do you physically sketch the designs first, or is everything done on a computer?
So it depends on the designer. You get depending on like what background they come from. So I know people that would just like have thousands of bricks on their desk and just kind of build in hand, and then we do ultimately have to put it in, like make it in the computer like digitally. Um, but myself, while I was at university, I did a lot of digital building because I lived in a tiny dorm room, so like I didn't have a physical brick
Yeah.
collection. So I'm used to building digitally. So I would start building digitally, then build it physical to see does it fall apart or not, and then go back and then, well, I guess not go back because I already made the digital model. So we do both. We do both because like obviously we need to make sure that it works physically because that's how kids will be playing with it.
Yeah, and again, as you say, it's this mix between being an artist and being an engineer. Is
Yeah,
this product design bit? You're sort of going, oh, well, I'd love for it to look like that, but it needs to work when it looks
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
That's this fascinating bit. We've got this question in from Eastwood Primary School, and they ask, "What's an average day like in the life of a Lego maker?"
Ooh, so I would say that I guess it depends on which stage in the project you're in, but like I would say that a good majority of your day is spent either physically or digitally building a Lego model, where you'd be sitting there with a pile of bricks, just being like, "Oh, does this connection work here?" Or I'm trying to like, if it's like, yeah, like the car, it's like, "Oh, I'm trying to get like this shape here. What bricks do I need to like get that in place?" So it'd be a lot of that, but then also you'd be having meetings with your design team to kind of show like, here's what I built since last week. I'm struggling with this bit. I would need your opinions on like, do you like this car in like red or do you like it in blue? Like these types of questions, and then we all kind of go around the table with like our own models and like talk about yeah, all these sorts of things. Yeah,
So
just
again, yes, still sounds like working with interesting people, but again, it's
yeah,
it's that sort of collaboration and teamwork. I like
yeah,
it.
yeah.
We've got this question in which I love, which is, what's the strangest Lego set you've designed?
Ooh, strangest. Do you know what K-pop is?
Yeah, I do, yes.
Yeah, so I made the BTS Dynamite music video, which is the first Lego music video made, which that was a funny one to work on. Like it's really strange being like taking something from not like a movie, but from like yeah a music video and bringing that to life rather than yeah something else or something completely out of my own head.
Yeah, I mean, as you see, the sort of what's the previous question was sort of what's the average day like, and you're sort of saying, well,
Yeah.
we're making the design, but also there's a music video that we're
Oh yeah, so
making.
like I would have like two computer screens, and one of them would just be the music video, just over and over again, to be like, okay, so there's like this kind of thing in the background, and I'll have to make it in this way. So yeah, probably that one. But yeah, I really like that one. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that would be really cool, actually. And again, it must be great to for you to design something and then see it go out into the world for everybody else to be able to use. Have you ever seen any of the Lego sets you've designed being used in real life?
So for the BTS set, they had in Korea like these big kind of like I think it was a tour. There was like these big pop-up events where they had like large scale versions of what I designed in the model in like this size, but it would be like as if it was so like there was like this ice cream truck that is part of the set, and they would have like life-size ice cream shop
Wow.
based on this, and it's like, oh, that's really weird. That like, I don't know, just like in my head that if I place this brick over there, then this huge thing would also be different. And it's like, oh, it's weird to have that kind of impact on these kind of like the real world.
Yeah, oh, that's really cool. Actually, I can imagine you sort of going, "Oh, hang on, I made that, and now it's
Yeah,
huge, and it's out in Korea, and everyone in the whole world can see it."
yeah.
So we've got this question in from Ezo Primary School, and I think this is probably part of how difficult it might be to design. But
Yeah.
how many different types of Lego bricks are there? Because surely you've got everything at your disposal to decide what we're going to make
Like
next.
that's a question I should know. It's a few thousand, but we try to keep it not go too crazy because then it gets unmanageable manufacturing all these bricks. So it would be, I think we try to keep it in a limited number, whatever that number is, in the couple of thousands, where it'd be like, okay, people aren't using too much of these bricks, so maybe we won't make these ones anymore, but we need to make these ones, so we'll replace them with this other design that might be more suitable for what we're designing for this year.
And is there, because there's a question in which is what's your favorite Lego brick, but also is there just some of your incredibly useful ones? So like if you're ever in a tough spot, you go, oh, hang on, there's always a reliable one that can come in and help.
There is, but like again, do I have one of them on me here? I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like it's like flat, and it's like got another bit here, but like on the up bits, the studs are this way.
Oh yeah.
So it's just very easy if you want to build sideways. But yeah, okay, no, I don't have one on me. Sorry.
No, but that's fair because I've always wondered because with so many an option, there must be some that you see sort of standard ones and everything, but there'll be some really useful ones that you'd have never thought of.
Yeah.
So just as I said to everybody, we are going to keep this Q&A going for another 15 minutes. So if anyone's got any questions, get them in. But we do have this question coming in again about, so you said that you sort of applied and then you didn't get the first time round, but you also did your internship and now you're fully part of Lego. So what was the very first set that you designed?
That was a tuk-tuk. Well, I guess I designed when I was an intern, and that was like a little Powerpuff Girls set. But then like my first kind of like proper one was a tuk-tuk for creator. I also don't have it on me; it's downstairs. But yeah, so it was like trying to make. Should I go get it, or do we not have time?
Oh, go on. If you can go and get it, I'm sure
okay.
everyone would love to see it. We're all here for some interactive sessions, and we've seen your questions coming in. Thank you very much, everybody. As we said before, for those of you who can't make the full session, the recording will be available next week on our YouTube channel for you to watch again. And as I say, we're still going to be doing questions for the next 15 minutes. So if you do have any questions, please just type them in the chat, and we promise we will try and get round to it. As you can see, we've got quite a popular interview today.
So
Hi there, James.
yeah, this was my first Lego model that I designed.
Oh wow!
And yeah, I'm quite a big fan of it, even though it was my first, just because like I like bright colors and like I got to put a lot of colors in this. I would say that it was very difficult to design because of like pushing down like that when you roll it along. Yeah, when you roll along the carpet, it's yeah, you have to make sure that like it withstands that force. So yeah.
Yeah, so again, that's some of the other things that you've got to take in consideration is how's it used, and that's some of the things I suppose the designers are always having to look out for is where's it used, how's it used, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've still got some questions coming in. This question comes in from the Buchan School or the Buchan School. How many different projects have you been a part of at your time in Lego?
Ooh, I think it's around 50, maybe. Yeah, like so I've been there, 4 years, and it's normally like 2 or 3 a year that you would work on. So yeah, around 15 total sets.
Wow, so yeah, so been kept fairly busy then by the sounds of things.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So we've had a few questions in that are similar to this. I think I'll ask them all at once. If you weren't a Lego designer, what do you think you would be doing?
Twitch streamer? No. No, I would still want to be a toy designer. Oh, did my camera just cut out? Hello?
Oh, we've still got your audio, James. It's
Oh,
okay.
okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so I would still be a toy designer, I think. I still love like designing toys, and so yeah, it's quite different from Lego design, but like that would be what I want to do because as the title of this presentation, yes, I am a child at heart.
And it does seem like an incredibly fun job to do as well. We can still hear you. So I've got another question for you, and that's about the future. So you've been with Lego for a few years now. You've been in 50 projects. Is there a big project you really want to work on? Apologies,
Wow,
everyone. I think
if
we
there
may have just.
is,
Oh, there we
I
go,
wouldn't
James.
be
Yeah.
allowed to say.
Oh, really?
It's yeah, they're super secretive about upcoming stuff, so I couldn't say anything.
Ah, interesting. Well, I suppose because not only is there so many different things that you work on, but there's so many different companies that Lego work with. I mean, you just
Yes.
mentioned BTS as a band. We all know about Star Wars figures and everything.
Yeah.
How many of these big franchises do you find yourself working on?
So I was on Lego Ideas, which they do like a new company that you work with, or we call them IP. So it would be working with a new IP every new set. So I've worked with like a bunch, like maybe like five or six. Like if half of my sets were based on like a movie or something. So yeah, it's always fun like working with them because you have to like show it to them and say like, hey, what do you think of this camera? Like talking to Polaroid, for instance.
Yeah, and then do they have their own ideas as well?
Yeah. So they'll give their input, and we'll like come back and say like if that's like possible or not, and kind of having like this discussion with them to, it's like compromising on like both sides and everything.
Yeah. So again, it's just working with people, I suppose, isn't
Yes,
it?
yes.
We've got this question. Sorry, I didn't quite write down who has asked it, but have you ever worked on a design that just didn't work?
Um, I would say that like all of my designs worked eventually, but like there's well things like the Polaroid camera. You just go through a long period of like, oh my goodness, have we been too ambitious with this? It's like have we bit enough more than we can chew? Um, and like trying to like get everything to work. And in the end, I've managed to make it, but like I could also see a scenario where maybe it wouldn't have worked, and we'd have to, like limit like maybe not have so much play features in the model. But so far, I've been fine.
And again, that's the testing. In fact, we've
Yes.
got class 3 from New Skillworths Academy have asked if you need any little helpers to test your designs. But that is a good question because you showed the physical tests that the models
Mm.
have to go through. Does it end up in front of people using it to
Yes.
give you feedback?
Yeah. There's also kids tests where it's testing it for things like like I said with the tucked up before my camera ran out of battery. Like if you're pushing down on it, like if a kid is pushing a lot across the floor, does it kind of fall apart in their hands? Um, so it'd be things like that, or is it fun? Like is it fun to play with these toys? And if not, why? And then we can go back and design something that they would think is fun.
Oh, that is, I mean, to have a job where you've got to make something fun, that sounds pretty special,
Yeah.
actually. But so we do have some more questions coming in. So a little bit about yourself, James, and what you were like at school. So what were some of your favourite subjects at school, and then what was it like to do your first and second degree?
So, subjects at school, I quite liked woodwork. I think that was my favorite one. But yeah, I was yeah, kind of torn between doing like artsy stuff like art and design, and then also I quite like physics. That was like a nice way of like because like I could do mathematics, but it like physics was like a way of applying it in a way that made sense. So I quite enjoyed that. Um, and then what was the other one about university?
Yeah. So someone asked about what degree you did, and I know you touched on it in your
Hmm.
presentation.
So I did mechanical engineering for undergrad, and that was very difficult. But no, it was like really it's really interesting coming up with yeah, it's just like applying it, like physics, like applying all this kind of like mathematics to real world applications. And then for my second degree, that was product design, where that was more about talking about like how people would use products. And so like I guess like I kind of specialized in toy design, so it was all about this, how can you make something that kids can understand and is fun to play with. So yeah, I would say that was a bit more interesting in like what I was wanting from my career ultimately, which is
And it,
why I did it. And it worked.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it sounds, and it also sounds like it's worked, because it sounds like
Yes.
that's exactly the sort of thing you do day to day now. And in fact, we
Yeah.
do have some more questions about the job itself, and rather than the some of the really fun and exciting things, as every job has, it's got challenges. And this question comes from Mason. What is the hardest part of your job?
Ooh, I'd say the hardest part is, well, I was talking about the ideas phase, where you design everything that you want, and then when they have to pick what actually goes forward and becomes like a Lego set, and if it's something that you really wanted to become a set, and then they say, "Oh, we're actually going to go ahead with something else," then it's like, "Oh no, like my darling, my baby." Like I would. So it's like, yeah, letting go of the ideas that are left on the cutting room floor is a bit hard, but that is part of the job. So there's always
Yeah,
other opportunities for them to maybe come back another year or something.
that's what I was going to say. That's the beauty of ideas. You've always got it. So if there's a chance to bring it back, then you'll be there.
And especially with Lego models, because it's like you have a physical model sitting on your desk. So when someone comes up and says like, "Hey, that's I know that tuk tuk that you designed that we didn't go ahead with. We're looking for a tuk tuk." It's like, "Oh well, I've already got one made." It's like, here you go, and you just hand it off to them.
Yeah, I suppose it must be good at your desk actually saying, "Oh yes, here's what I made earlier. Would you want to have a
Yeah,
try with this?"
yeah.
So we've got some more questions about the bricks themselves actually, and you mentioned about how when you're going to test them, you can get things in all different colors. Robbie in year 6 asks, "Can the bricks be multicolored, or due to the molding process, is that not possible?"
Ooh, so they can be multicolored in several ways. So they've got some more like fancy molds that they normally use for I don't know if it's like special helmets that have like different colors on them that like inject the plastic in one color and then inject a different color after that's cooled, and then that gives you two different colors in the same in the same Lego brick. And then there's also this other fun one where they shoot it through like the same injection point, so it kind of gives like this weird kind of like watery effect of like these two colors kind of like melting into each other. So yeah, they do mold them in different colors.
All right, yeah. So
It's
as
all
you see,
very
the
fancy.
yeah, all the different ways to do it. It's very interesting, actually. And it made me think as well, have I ever seen a multicolored Lego brick? It was quite a good question. So we've got this question from Mr. Herman. You mentioned in your presentation about sort of like having the right mindset when going into a lot of what you've had to do. And this is a question about, are there times in which you've really had to use that to persevere? So possibly a
Mm.
difficult part of the project. And if you could maybe talk about what it's like in those maybe stressful or pressures moments where you sort of go, we're all going to work as a team to get through it? Or what was that? Have you got an example of when that was?
Um, yeah, I mean, I guess I would go back to working on the typewriter and the Polaroid camera, where there are these kind of moments where you think like, oh, I'm not sure if we can pull through on this. But I would say that, yeah, making with the whole like only the best is good enough, and all your like colleagues and friends are here to support you, and it's all like these like-minded creative people, and like being able to rely on these people and they can rely on you when they're having problems with their models. Like I think that's definitely like kind of like a community that helps us all pull through these kind of challenges. And then also I guess the it's really rewarding at the end of like seeing something that you designed on a store shelf. Like that's pride that like it's hard to come by, like that kind of level of like, wow, I did this. So that's always kind of like very motivating for a designer.
Yeah, and that must be really special actually. That's like sort of almost like seeing the big ice cream van blown up and
Yeah,
made real. You actually can walk past a Lego store to see something you've designed.
but not just
Um,
like yeah, you go to Tesco and it's like just go down the toy aisle. It's like, hey, I
so
did
yeah,
that.
yeah. Oh, that's a really good point. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
One of the things as well that you mentioned there about when you're all coming together to work. Do you think problem solving is quite an important part of your job?
Oh, absolutely. It is the majority of what we do is problem solving, whether it's like I need to make this specific shape on this model, or if I got a technical function, or this fell apart in the heat test, how can I make it stronger? All these sorts of like is problem solving is like yeah, I guess the main thing, the main kind of skill set that you would need.
And again, you said that one of the things that you would look at is when someone's using something, you called it like a pain point. What's something
Yes.
when someone's using it, it's difficult to do. So it's the
Yeah.
coming in and fixing that problem and making
Yes.
it
Yes.
no longer
Yeah.
difficult to do. So we've got time for a few more questions. If anybody's sitting on them, please send them in. This question has been asked all throughout the interview, so I
Hmm.
know you're wanting to hear it. This one comes from Miss Allen's class. What is the biggest Lego set you've ever made, James?
Biggest Lego set, the Hocus Pocus
Wow.
Sanderson Sisters cottage. It is a big haunted witches hut, and that was 2,300 bricks.
Wow.
Um, yeah, that was a big challenge because it's like a big house, um, and you had to like an engineer think about all the like the structural details to make sure it doesn't fall apart or like the roof caves in. So that was a big challenge.
And then again, that must be pretty good to see at the end of it. Was it
Yes,
2,300 bricks? You said that's pretty
yeah,
impressive.
yeah.
So yeah, we've got time for two more questions, I think. So that this question is from the Royal School of Dunkeld, like, which is how do you make the Lego so that it stays strong and together? You sort of mentioned that one of the turning points of the Lego history was when they almost made the rivets to sit them together. But you're right,
Yes.
you can build as high, you can build whole cottages from Hocus Pocus, and they stay together. How does it work?
Yeah, so it's all about we call it clutch power, where it's like so each stud has like an amount of like grip of like the brick above it. So if you have more studs clutching it together, then like it's going to be stronger. And then there's also things like if you can like sandwich it between things to kind of lock it in place so that if you do like pull it, it doesn't come apart again. So there's all these kind of like techniques which are yeah, I guess again similar to real world building to make sure that yeah, it doesn't fall apart and we're not just like stacking bricks in a tall tower that if you like touch it, it just all collapses.
Yeah, and so again, it comes out the testing as well. If
Yeah.
it's got to be built that way, got to make sure it works. So
Yeah.
I think we've got time for one more question. And we're going to end on this question from Primary 5 at Larbert Village. What is the best piece of advice you could give to an aspiring engineer?
Oh, um, that's a good one. I would say if you have a group project, always be a team player. Always yeah, working as a team when you have like a team project. Like make sure you always like take advantage of that because that is how most engineering projects are when you're an adult. So that is a good skill to have.
Brilliant. I think that's an excellent point to end the Q&A on. I would just like to say thank you to everyone for joining us, but a massive thank you to James for joining and helping inspire all the engineers in the making out there. Because everyone, now it is your turn to come up with your own engineering idea. Remember and send them to us once you've finished so that we can get our certificates sent out to you, and we'll hopefully see you all at our in-person exhibitions at the end of the school year. Now, remember, the deadline is March 22nd for submissions, and we have some of that free post available thanks to our national partners, Talus. So if you would like to get your entries in, feel free to get in touch with your contact at Primary Engineer to see if you can use the free post service. But for now, I want to say thank you to everyone, and a massive thank you again to James. And remember, if you were an engineer, what would you do?